Whatnot here, hello, and welcome to Let's Play Dominions 4 Thrones of Ascension. I'm going to play Pangaea, the Age of Revelry. There are basically two ways you can play this nation. One is more straightforward, and the other is what I'm going to try and do. Difference in approach comes to whether or not you are going to use national free spawns, these girls, as a mainstay of your army. The problem with Menates is twofold. Firstly, they are not very strong, they have no protection, and they are armed only with claws. Secondly, they come in chaotic dominion, which cuts your income, and the pans who actually spawn them cost a lot of money. A lot. So it's kind of anti-synergy. I'm not going to spawn any Menates in my actual game and will rely on recruitable troops instead. Let's look at those, shall we? First, we have a Harpy. Very cheap, very low stats across the board, but they have some advantages. They fly, they're stealthy, and as is the case with all Pangaean troops, they have forest survival, which means they won't starve in the woods and they can move unhindered through densely vegetated terrain, and recuperation. Any affliction they suffer will be healed in a few turns. I will use harpies to patrol and maybe for suicidal attacks with a particular earth spell. More on that later. Next we have four kinds of satyr. They are more or less the same thing. For example, none of them have helmets, but there are a few nuances here and there. First, there is Satyr Sneak. As you might expect, he is the best at skulking around. He also spreads unrest wherever he goes. Regular satyrs can also sneak, and they have a javelin, which allows them to fire twice before engaging in melee. Satyr warriors, the only one of the bunch who will actually follow your orders in battle, while all the others are undisciplined. He also has shield that gives him a chance to survive archer fire and allows him to parry. How does parry works? Well, you roll your attack against enemy's defense. If you succeed, you hit. But if the enemy has a shield and you roll between those two numbers, enemy gets to use his shield to block, which adds this amount of protection to his innate one. Let's just say if you're not super strong, you're not punching through this. The last variety is Reveler. He's slightly stronger, he uses his hoofs in battle, and he can go berserk if wounded. Berserking units never retreat and get better attack, protection and strength at the expense of their defense and extra fatigue. He also spreads unrest. Well, I guess he likes to punch innocent bystanders or something. Next, we have Minotaurs. Big stompy dudes with huge battle axes. They have a lot of health, they can trample smaller beings, and they have enough oomph to cut through their enemies even if they manage a shield block. Also, they cost a lot of cash, they're kinda clumsy and easy to hit, though if you hit a Minotaur he flies into Berserker Rage. They come in two varieties, second one being slightly stronger and more angry. I consider them a very niche unit. Last but not least we have Centaurs, a whole bunch of them. First we have Centauride with a short bow, so she's slightly cheaper resource wise than her male counterpart, and she has better precision. Then there is a male centaur with a long bow and slightly higher strength, so he can do something useful with his dagger. Next there is Centaurid warrior. She has a shield, some armor, and the javelins. And boy is she good with those javelins with her high strength and precision. Next there is a centaur warrior. He can berserk and he has a light lance, meaning that he gets bonus damage on first strike. The exact amount of damage depending on how fast he moves, and centaurs are quick. Well, all in all, centaurs are somewhat similar to human cavalry, only better in every respect. They have twice as much hit points, they are stealthy, they have recuperate, they're faster, they have more magic resistance. I will be recruiting those guys a lot. And last but not least, we have this guy, White Centaur. He is our sacred unit. Sacred meaning that he can be blessed by our priests and get powerful buffs depending on what magic I'll decide to use on my pretender god. He is also berserker. He has both light lance and javelin, so it's kinda best of both worlds. He costs more than a freaking minotaur, though it's somewhat compensated by the fact that sacred units only use half the normal upkeep. He is good. Only problem is that you can't have as many of those as you'd like to. Next, let's look at our commander lineup. First, there is a Black Harpy, a pretty good scout. Cheap, very stealthy, and can fly up to 3 provinces a turn. Probably won't win any fight against anything stronger than a house cat. She has only 3 item slots, head and 2 trinkets, not like I'm going to give any magic units to a scout anyway, so it's kinda irrelevant. Next we have Satyr Commander. His equipment is exactly that of a Satyr warrior, but he can sneak, meaning that he can lead as stealth raids far behind enemy border, cutting off reinforcements, messing his income, things of that nature. He can lead 40 troops, which is box standard. Minotaur Lord. Costs almost twice as much as a Satyr Commander, and he can sneak, but he can lead 60 troops, and with a few magical items he can kick some serious ass on his own. That's what in Dominion's terms called a thug, a single commander unit who can clear a small province defense force on his own, or join a front line of a main army in a big battle. Why would you want something like that instead recruiting one more army? Well, for one, it's cheaper. Secondly, you can have a bunch of those guys running all over the place, attacking everywhere where enemy army is not, and then assisting your main war host in a major engagement. I will do a few funny things with those guys later on. Moving along, there are our centaurs again, this time with some magic sauce. Hierophantide is a level 1 priest, which means she can bless our sacred troops. She's sacred herself, and she also has a random chance of getting either water level 1 or nature level 1. She has a high precision, which means she can do some funny things if given a magical bow. And she's an inspirational leader, meaning that 40 troops under her command will have higher morale and thus will be less likely to rout. One more thing to note about those girls is that since they don't have any preset magical paths, they don't technically count as a mage and thus can be recruited in forts without need for building a magical lab. Next we have Centaur Hierophant. He's slightly stronger variety of the same deal, and he has an earth magic instead of water. Otherwise pretty much identical stats. Oh, then funny things. He has one less morale than his female counterpart, so while he's still far better than standard human would be, he's somewhat of a wuss. Now we get to the real deal. First there is this Dryad at 155 gold. She's a Water Mage level 1, Nature Mage level 1 and Priest level 2. She has awe, meaning that anyone who strikes her in melee will have to roll a morale check to see if he dares to do it, basically. Then she's cold resistant, poison resistance, though not that much. She's stealthy, she's more stealthy than our scouts are. She can feed 10 human-sized troops because of her knowledge of nature magic. She is good at commanding animals, they will be less likely to rout if she leads them. And most importantly, she has seduction. Okay, crash course seduction. When your agent attempts to lure enemy commander, first she rolls against the target's magic resistance. If she fails, nothing happens, though enemy will get a message saying something dream manifestation. If successful though, she then rolls against target's morale. If successful again, she will sneak with her newfound lover to the enemy's border and he joins your army. If not, then the one-on-one battle, also known as assassination battle, ensues. So, you need to equip your party girls with the tools of killing, just in case. Next on the list, at 270 gold, we have a Dryad Mother, or as I would call it, Dryad MILF, since she also happens to have seduction. This lady has much better magic skills. You can get up to 3 water, 3 nature or 2 earth if you're lucky. She's also more poison resistant and has an Ivy Lord ability, which means she can summon more Vinemen for the same amount of magic gems spent. More on this later. And finally, there is the big guy, the eponymous Pan. He costs whopping 325 gold to recruit, and not only that, but he is also not sacred like the rest of your magi, so if you hire a lot of those guys, their upkeep will eat you alive. On the other hand, he is a real powerhouse, the wrath of nature made manifest. Level 4 nature mage, and if you get lucky, he can get level 5 even. That's a lot. That's what gods often have in this game. He also has some knowledge in earth and blood magic, guaranteed to have a level 2 in at least one of those. He brings to the table a 19 research points per turn. He has animal awe, meaning animals under enemy command won't dare to attack him. He is a very poison resistant. He has a beast master, meaning that animals under his command one drought for shit, and in Chaotic Dominion he can spawn Manades. Not that I'm going to allow that. Sorry Pants, no free love for you. Now that we have a rough idea of what to expect from our troops, let's see what kind of deity we should get to lead them. I will be using one mod for this game, particularly no AI recruit. What it does is it allows the AI to make more reasonable choices as to what to spend their money on. They won't recruit garbage independent troops, so we will be fighting against more thematic armies. Now to Pretender God design. Selecting early age Pangaea. Here's the nation description. We'll be reading that when we be actually starting the game. Now I've already figured what I want to do with my god. There is a great variety from human mages to giant trees, totems, statues, various titans, mythical beasts and what have you. I like this guy. First of all, he has a flower pot on his head. Secondly, he has a magic just like what I need for my intended game plan. So I'll give him a strong productive dominion. Not very much in terms of resources, but then again, Pangaean troops don't require that much resources anyway. High growths, high magic, some luck because reasons, strong dominion presence to get those white centaurs going, and some earth magic just because we have spare points. Now all what's left is to give this guy a properly divine name, and we're ready to start. Just like that.